I remember the day Sheriff Jack walked into our station like it was yesterday. He was a tall, imposing figure with a charisma that commanded attention. I was immediately skeptical, though. Something about him didn't sit right with me. Maybe it was the way he flashed that perfectly white smile, or the way he seemed to calculate every move he made. I've seen con artists before, and this guy had all the makings of one. As he introduced himself, I couldn't help but notice the way he worked the room. He shook hands, patted backs, and tossed around phrases like partner and team player. It was all a bit too smooth, a bit too rehearsed. I exchanged a glance with my partner, Rachel, and I could tell she was thinking the same thing. This guy was trouble, but the brass was eating it up. They were starry-eyed, impressed by his supposed law enforcement pedigree and his vision for the department. I kept thinking, what's the catch? Because in my experience, when something seems too good to be true, it usually is. As the days went by, I kept a close eye on Sheriff Jack. He was always on, always performing for an audience. I'd catch him glancing at his reflection in windows, adjusting his tie, making sure every hair was in place. It was like he was playing a role, and I was determined to figure out what was behind the act. One night, I decided to do some digging. I poured myself a cup of coffee, settled in at my desk, and started digging through his personnel file. That's when I stumbled upon the first red flag, a gap in his employment history. 6 months, unaccounted for. I raised an eyebrow, wondering what he was hiding. Little did I know, that was just the tip of the iceberg. I remember that sweltering summer evening like it was yesterday. The kind of heat that makes the asphalt shimmer and the crickets sound like they're on steroids. I was patrolling the rural routes, my cruiser's AC blowing a lukewarm breeze, when dispatch crackled to life. Possible 10 to 96 at the Jenkins Dairy Farm. Reporting party claims a stolen milk truck. My mind wandered to the usual suspects, joyriders, pranksters, or maybe some desperate soul trying to score a quick buck. I turned onto the farm's dirt driveway, the cruiser's tires kicking up a cloud of dust. As I approached the main barn, I spotted old man Jenkins, his face redder than a ripe tomato, waving his arms like a windmill. "What's the haps, Mr. Jenkins?" I asked, stepping out of the cruiser. "Some thieves made off with my milk truck," he growled, his voice like a rusty gate. "They must have hotwired it. Got away with a whole load of 2% and some fancy organic stuff." I nodded sympathetically, taking in the scene. The farm's parking area was empty, except for a few scattered hay bales and a lone chicken pecking at the dirt. I spotted some tire tracks leading out of the farm, but they didn't look like they belonged to any ordinary milk truck. These tracks were too wide, too deep. I radioed for backup, my mind racing with possibilities. Who steals a milk truck? And what's the haul worth, anyway? As I waited for my colleagues to arrive, I took a stroll around the farm, taking in the sounds of the countryside, the rustling corn stalks, the distant lowing of